In the army, the enemy often wears the same uniform as you. The words hang in the air like gunpowder smoke as Major General Antonia Brooks adjusts her dress uniform. At 73, her shoulders still carry the weight of 4 decades in service, but today, they feel heavier than ever. The Pentagon hearing room is colder than a Montana winter. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting harsh shadows across polished mahogany tables. Military investigators sit rigid in their chairs, files spread before them like battle plans. And there, in the defendant's chair, sits Angela Martinez. 28 years old, staff sergeant, former protege, former daughter of my heart. Angela's mascara runs in black rivers down her cheeks as she clutches a tissue. Her voice cracks when she speaks to the panel of stone-faced colonels. "I never meant for it to go this far," she sobs. "The pressure, the deadlines, my husband's transfer orders. I just needed one break, one opportunity to prove myself." Antonia watches from the gallery, her steel gray eyes never blinking. Her hands rest folded in her lap, steady as rifle stocks. But inside, a different storm rages. 3 years ago, Angela had burst into her office at Fort Bragg like a hurricane in combat boots. Fresh out of West Point, hungry for action, desperate to make her mark in a man's world. She reminded Antonia of herself at that age, all fire and determination with something to prove. "Ma'am, I want to work for you," Angela had declared, standing at attention but unable to hide the hope blazing in her dark eyes. That was the beginning. Late nights in the briefing room, Antonia sharing hard-won wisdom over lukewarm coffee, teaching Angela how to read terrain maps like poetry, how to anticipate enemy movements 3 steps ahead, the classified operation in Syria that saved 47 American lives. Antonia had trusted Angela with every detail, every contingency plan. "You remind me why I fell in love with this uniform," Antonia had whispered one evening as they watched recruits drilling in the distance, like having a daughter in the service. Angela had actually called her mom that night, quietly, when no one else could hear. The word had wrapped around Antonia's heart like a medal of honor. But people change, ambition corrupts, love becomes leverage. The investigator's voice cuts through the memory like a blade. "Staff Sergeant Martinez, intelligence reports show classified Operation Sandstorm documents were leaked to unauthorized personnel. These same documents later appeared in a promotion packet submitted under your name." Angela's husband, Captain James Rodriguez, had received orders to the prestigious European Command, a dream assignment that came with prestige, adventure, and a hefty cost of living increase. But it also came with a deadline: 6 months to secure matching orders, or face a long-distance marriage in a military that didn't favor geographical bachelors. Desperation makes people do ugly things. The night Angela betrayed her, Antonia had been reviewing final preparations for her revolutionary combat training program. 3 years of development, designed to prepare female soldiers for the psychological warfare they'd face in modern combat zones. It was her legacy project, the capstone of a distinguished career. She'd stepped away for 10 minutes to take a call from her sister in Colorado. When she returned, Angela was photographing classified documents with her phone. "What are you doing?" Antonia had asked, though her heart already knew the answer. Angela's face had gone white as fresh snow. "General Brooks, I can explain." But explanations were just words, and betrayal was action. Within 2 weeks, Angela had submitted Antonia's entire training program as her own work. The promotion board, impressed by such innovative thinking from a young officer, fast-tracked her application. Angela received her captain's bars and her European assignment in record time. Antonia said nothing, did nothing, watched her life's work walk out the door wearing someone else's name. The hearing room feels like a tomb as the investigator continues reading charges: theft of classified material, plagiarism of military research, conduct unbecoming an officer. Angela's sobs grow louder. "Please, I was just trying to keep my family together. My husband, our future, everything was falling apart." One of the colonels leans forward. Staff Sergeant. These actions endangered operational security and violated every oath you swore as an officer. The penalty for treason during wartime can be severe. Angela's head snaps up, panic flooding her features. Her desperate eyes scan the room until they lock onto Antonia's face. The older woman hasn't moved, hasn't spoken. She sits like a statue carved from disappointment and steel. General Brooks, Angela whispers, her voice barely audible. Please. You know me. You know my heart. Tell them I'm not a traitor. The room falls silent. Every eye turns to Antonia. The investigators wait. Angela trembles. Antonia rises slowly, her uniform crisp as morning reveille. She takes one step forward, then stops. A smile plays at the corner of her lips. Not warm, not forgiving, but sharp as a bayonet. Class, she says, her voice carrying the authority of 4 decades in uniform, is only just beginning. The words hit Angela like artillery shells. Her face crumbles as she realizes the woman she once called mom has become something else entirely. Something patient, something dangerous, something with a plan. 15 years earlier, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The summer heat rises from the asphalt like prayers nobody wants to answer. Major General Antonia Brooks stands outside the Tactical Training Center, watching a convoy of new recruits stumble out of transport trucks like newborn colts. That's when she first sees her. Sergeant Angela Martinez steps down from the last truck, her uniform pressed sharp enough to cut glass. But Antonia notices something else, the way Angela's eyes dart around the base, measuring distances, cataloging exits. The posture of someone who's learned to survive by staying ready to run. Sergeant Martinez, Antonia calls out, her voice carrying across the courtyard. Angela snaps to attention so fast her boots click like gunshots. Yes, ma'am. Up close, Antonia sees it all. The fierce intelligence burning behind those dark eyes. The slight tremble in hands that have known hunger. The proud lift of chin that screams, I belong here, even when the world says otherwise. This girl reminds her of someone. Someone who grew up in Detroit, projects with nothing but determination, and a dead father's purple heart for company. Walk with me, Antonia orders. They move through the training facility, past obstacle courses and shooting ranges, where the sound of automatic weapons creates its own rhythm. Angela's steps are precise, measured. She's studying everything, absorbing details like a tactical computer. Tell me about yourself, Sergeant, Antonia says, as they pause beside a wall covered in commendation photos. Angela straightens. Grew up in East LA, ma'am. Single mother, 3 brothers. Joined the army to get them a better life. The words are facts, delivered without self-pity. But Antonia hears the story underneath. Nights without electricity, choosing between rent and groceries, dreams deferred for family survival. What makes you think you can handle unconventional warfare training? Antonia asks. For the first time, Angela smiles. It's sharp as a combat knife, because unconventional is all I've ever known, ma'am. That night, Antonia finds Angela in the mess hall at 2,200 hours, studying tactical manuals by fluorescent light. Most soldiers would be asleep or sneaking beer behind the barracks. This one is memorizing enemy movement patterns like poetry. Mind if I join you? Angela jumps, nearly knocking over her coffee. General Brooks, I was just reviewing tomorrow's briefing materials. Antonia slides into the seat across from her, noting the 3 empty textbooks already conquered. Call me Antonia when we're alone, and tell me what you really think about conventional military doctrine. Something shifts in Angela's face. The formal mask slips, revealing raw ambition underneath. Honestly, it's predictable. Enemies adapt faster than we change tactics. We need flexibility, creativity, something they won't see coming. For the next 2 hours, they dissect military strategy like surgeons. Angela's mind moves like lightning, connecting patterns, identifying weaknesses in traditional approaches. She thinks 3 moves ahead, anticipating consequences before actions are taken. Antonia hasn't felt this intellectually stimulated in years. I have something to show you, she says, leading Angela to a secure conference room. The classified files spread across the table represent 18 months of development work. Project Athena. Antonia's revolutionary approach to psychological warfare and combat readiness for female soldiers in hostile territories. This is classified at the highest levels, Antonia explains, watching Angela's eyes widen as she absorbs the scope of the program. But I think you're ready to understand what we're really fighting for out there. Angela traces the tactical diagrams with reverent fingers. This could change everything. Give our female soldiers actual advantages instead of just equal treatment. Exactly. Antonia feels a pride she hasn't experienced since her own daughter's college graduation. I want you to help me develop the field training protocols. Over the following months, their professional relationship deepens into something more personal. Late nights become the norm, fueled by strong coffee and shared determination. Antonia finds herself telling Angela stories about her early career, the discrimination, the doubts, the victories earned through pure, stubborn refusal to quit. Angela shares her own struggles, the foster homes after her mother's overdose, working 3 jobs to put herself through community college. The recruiting sergeant, who almost dismissed her application because of her background. I never had anyone believe in me before, Angela whispers one evening as they review training footage. Not really believe. Not like this. Antonia's throat tightens. Everyone deserves someone in their corner, kid. Everyone deserves a champion. The tears come without warning. Angela tries to wipe them away quickly, embarrassed by the display of emotion. But Antonia reaches across the table and covers her hand. Hey, it's okay to feel this, to want this. Her voice carries 30 years of motherly wisdom. You earned your place here, Angela. Never forget that. That night, Angela calls her mom for the first time, quietly, when she thinks no one else can hear. But Antonia catches it, and the word wraps around her heart like a warm blanket. 6 months later, Project Athena is ready for field testing. Antonia has documented every innovation, every breakthrough, every lesson learned. The program could revolutionize military training for an entire generation of female soldiers. She stands in her office, watching Angela drill new recruits through advanced scenarios. The young sergeant has grown into a natural leader, confident, inspiring, unafraid to make hard decisions under pressure. Angela, Antonia calls out after the training session ends. I have news. The promotion paperwork sits on her desk, like a gift, waiting to be opened. Captain's bars, European assignment, and the chance to implement Project Athena on an international scale. I'm recommending you for advancement, Antonia says, her voice thick with pride. And I want you to take lead on the Athena program expansion. Angela's face lights up like Christmas morning. Ma'am, I don't know what to say. This is everything I've dreamed of. You've earned it, Antonia replies, pulling Angela into a fierce hug. My daughter deserves the world. Neither of them knows that in 3 months, those same Project Athena files will be photographed in secret, submitted under Angela's name, used to secure a promotion that will tear their relationship apart. Sometimes love creates the perfect conditions for betrayal. Sometimes trust becomes the sharpest weapon of all. The knife comes at midnight. Not steel, but something sharper. Something that cuts deeper than any blade ever forged. The knife of betrayal, wielded by the one person Antonia Brooks trusted with her heart. Captain James Rodriguez spreads the transfer orders across their kitchen table like a battle plan. His wedding ring catches the lamplight as he points to the European command assignment. Look at this, Angela. Stuttgart, Germany. Joint NATO operations. This could make our careers. Angela stares at the paperwork, her coffee growing cold. It's everything we wanted, but the timeline is impossible. 6 weeks to show significant achievement, or they'll reassign the position to someone else. James leans back in his chair, a predator calculating distance to prey. What about that project you've been working on with Brooks? Project Athena? That's not my project, Angela says quietly. It's hers. 3 years of research, development, testing. I just helped with field protocols. But you know it inside and out, right? James's voice carries the dangerous edge of desperate ambition. You understand every component, every innovation. Angela's hands tremble as she sets down her mug. James, what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we take what we've learned and present it as collaborative work. Your work. Who's going to question a rising star officer about her own research? The words hang in the air like smoke from a burning bridge. She trusted me, Angela whispers. She calls me daughter. James reaches across the table, gripping her wrist. And where has that gotten you? Still a captain after 2 years, watching other officers advance while you play nursemaid to recruits. Brooks has had her time in the spotlight. Now it's ours. That night, Angela stands outside Antonia's office at 0200 hours. The general is reviewing final preparations for the Syria operation. Her reading glasses perched on the edge of her nose like an owl studying prey. The classified files sit open on the desk. Project Athena in all its revolutionary glory. Psychological warfare protocols, combat readiness assessments, training methodologies that could save hundreds of female soldiers' lives in the field. General, I forgot my field manual. Angela lies, her voice steady as sniper fire. Antonia doesn't look up. Grab it and get some sleep. Tomorrow's briefing starts at 0600. Angela's phone feels like a loaded weapon in her pocket. 10 minutes. That's all it takes to photograph 3 years of someone else's life work. 10 minutes to destroy a relationship that meant everything. The camera flash is silent, but it might as well be thunder. 3 weeks later, the transformation is complete. Angela's promotion packet features Project Athena under her name, supported by forged documentation and James's careful editing. The innovation that was supposed to be Antonia's legacy becomes someone else's ticket to European command. The award ceremony takes place in the base auditorium, brass and ribbons gleaming under harsh fluorescent lights. Angela stands at attention on the stage, her captain's bars shining like stolen gold. For extraordinary innovation in psychological warfare training, the colonel announces, Captain Angela Martinez has developed revolutionary protocols that will reshape how we prepare our female soldiers for combat operations. Applause fills the room like artillery fire. Antonia sits in the back row, her dress uniform immaculate, her face a mask of professional composure, but her hands grip the chair arms until her knuckles turn white. Colonel Harrison, her old friend from West Point, leans over and whispers, Funny thing, Antonia. That Athena program sounds exactly like the research you've been developing for the past 3 years. The words hit like shrapnel. It does, doesn't it? Antonia's voice carries the bitter taste of betrayal. On stage, Angela accepts her commendation with practiced humility. This work wouldn't have been possible without the support of my commanding officers and the brave women who volunteered for field testing. Not once does she mention Antonia's name. That night, Antonia sits alone in her quarters, a half-empty bottle of bourbon keeping her company. The amber liquid burns her throat, but not as much as the memory of Angela calling her mom. She stares at the photograph on her desk, her late husband Marcus in his dress blues, taken 3 days before the IED blast in Afghanistan stole him from her. His smile seems sadder now, as if he knows what she's discovered about the people she trusted. I should have listened to you, Marcus, she whispers to the empty room. You always said trust was a luxury we couldn't afford in this business. The bourbon makes her bold enough to do what she's avoided for 2 years. She opens Marcus's personal safe, the one she's kept locked since his funeral. Inside, beneath his purple heart and bronze star, she finds something unexpected. A leather portfolio marked insurance. The documents inside make her heart race. Names, phone numbers, email addresses, a network of high-ranking military officials spanning 3 decades of Marcus's career. Generals, admirals, Pentagon liaisons, NATO commanders, people who owed him favors, people who trusted his judgment. But more importantly, she finds copies of her original Project Athena research. Every draft, every revision, every breakthrough moment documented with timestamps and digital signatures. Marcus had been quietly backing up her work, protecting her intellectual property without her knowledge. "You sneaky old soldier," she murmurs, running her fingers over his careful handwriting in the margins. At the bottom of the portfolio, she finds a handwritten note in Marcus's distinctive script. "For my brilliant wife, in case anyone ever tries to steal your thunder, you'll have the receipts to prove it belongs to you. Always protect what you've built, Antonia. The wolves are always watching." The irony hits her like a tactical strike. Her dead husband saw the betrayal coming before she did. Angela's laughter echoes from the officers' club next door, where she's celebrating her promotion with James and their European-bound friends. The sound carries through the thin walls like mockery. Antonia closes the portfolio and pours herself another bourbon. The alcohol steadies her hands as she reaches for her secure phone. Marcus's contact list spread before her like a battle plan. Her voice carries the cold precision of 30 years in uniform when she speaks to the empty room. "You want war, Angela?" She raises the glass in a toast to her husband's photograph. "Then I'll teach you war." Outside, the North Carolina wind howls like an incoming storm. Chess is a game of patience. The first call comes at 0530 hours, 3 days after the awards ceremony. Antonia's voice is steady as granite when General Patricia Hawkins answers her secure line at the Pentagon. "Pat, it's Antonia Brooks. I need to cash in an old favor." Silence stretches across the encrypted connection like a sniper, holding breath. Then, recognition. "Jesus, Antonia. Haven't heard from you since Marcus's funeral. What do you need?" Someone has stolen classified research and passed it off as their own work. "I have proof. I need it to reach the right desk at the Inspector General's office." General Hawkins's voice hardens. "Send me everything. If someone's playing fast and loose with classified material, they picked the wrong game." The second call goes to Admiral Robert Chen in Norfolk. Marcus saved his career 15 years ago when a training accident nearly cost him his stars. The debt runs deep, paid in blood and brotherhood. "Antonia? My God, how are you holding up?" Chen's concern sounds genuine through the static. "I'm calling it in, Rob. All of it. Someone betrayed everything Marcus and I worked to build, and I need your influence with the European Command Promotion Board." "Consider it done. What's the target?" "Captain Angela Martinez. And Admiral, this stays between us until it's finished." By week's end, Antonia has activated a network that spans 3 decades of military service. Colonels who served under Marcus in Iraq. Generals who remember her innovations in psychological warfare. Even former CIA operative Sarah Mitchell, who owes her life to intelligence Marcus provided during a botched extraction in Syria. Each contact receives the same package. Digital copies of the original Project Athena research, timestamps proving Antonia's authorship, and most damaging of all, security camera footage from the night Angela photographed the classified files. The packages arrive anonymously at the Inspector General's office through channels so secure they might as well be ghosts. Meanwhile, Angela's European dream becomes a golden cage with invisible bars. Captain James Rodriguez has big plans for their Stuttgart assignment. Joint NATO operations mean lucrative consulting opportunities. Defense contractors pay well for inside information on procurement schedules and strategic priorities. "Think of it as retirement planning," James tells Angela over dinner at an expensive restaurant in downtown Stuttgart. The candles flicker between them like warning signals she refuses to see. "James, you're talking about selling military intelligence to private companies. That's not consulting, that's treason." He reaches across the table, his wedding ring clicking against her wineglass. "It's business, Angela. Everyone does it. How do you think half these generals afford their retirement homes? But everyone doesn't do it, and the bills start piling up anyway." James's gambling problem reveals itself slowly, like cancer spreading through healthy tissue. Poker games with other officers become high-stakes tournaments in Berlin casinos. The consulting fees that were supposed to secure their future disappear into foreign bank accounts that somehow empty themselves overnight. Angela finds herself signing loans she doesn't understand, co-signing credit applications for investments that exist only in her husband's desperate imagination. Back at Fort Bragg, Antonia maintains her routine with military precision. 0500 hours, physical training, push-ups and pull-ups that would challenge soldiers half her age. Her body moves like a weapon that refuses to rust. The shooting range becomes her church. Every morning at 0630, she fires 50 rounds through her service pistol. The targets hanging downrange wear imaginary faces, and her groupings could thread needles at 25 yards. Other veterans nod with respect as she holsters her weapon. At 73, Major General Antonia Brooks remains a force of nature wrapped in desert camouflage. The investigation moves like winter frost, invisible until it's everywhere. Angela receives the first notice on a Tuesday morning in February. Official letterhead from the Inspector General's office requesting clarification regarding the authorship of Project Athena research protocols. Her hands shake as she reads the formal language. Discrepancies have been identified in the documentation submitted with your promotion packet. Please provide original research notes and developmental timelines within 10 business days. She calls Antonia immediately, her voice cracking like ice under pressure. Mom, General Brooks, I need your help. There's been some kind of mistake with the Athena project documentation. Antonia's voice comes through the international connection clear as mountain air. What kind of mistake, Angela? The IG's office is asking for proof that I developed the research myself. But you know I helped with everything. You can vouch for my contributions, right? The pause stretches longer than transatlantic cables. I'll see what I can do, Antonia says finally. But her tone carries the cold precision of a tactical strike. More letters arrive weekly, each one asking harder questions, demanding more detailed explanations. Angela's European paradise becomes a bureaucratic nightmare as she scrambles to manufacture evidence for work she never actually performed. James grows distant, spending longer hours at the casino, coming home with whiskey breath and empty pockets. The loan payments become impossible to meet. Their joint bank accounts dwindle like water in desert sand. We're losing everything, Angela pleads with him one night as overdraft notices cover their kitchen table. The house, the cars, our security clearances if this investigation goes wrong. James barely looks up from his poker chips. Then figure it out. You're the one who claimed credit for someone else's work. Clean up your own mess. The betrayal cuts deeper than anything Antonia could have planned. 3 months later, Angela stands in the Stuttgart airport, her transfer orders to a disciplinary hearing folded in her trembling hands. Military police wait at the security checkpoint like patient predators. Her cell phone rings once before the MPs confiscate it. James's number on the caller ID, but he never speaks. Just the sound of casino machines in the background, then silence. The handcuffs feel heavier than all her stolen achievements combined. 5,000 miles away, Antonia sits in her study, Marcus's photograph watching over her shoulder. The chess game she started with a single phone call is nearly finished. But revenge, she's learning, tastes more bitter than she expected. The fall from grace sounds like silence. No fanfare, no dramatic confrontations. Just the hollow echo of footsteps walking away when Angela enters the mess hall at Fort Bragg, her demotion papers fresh as morning coffee and twice as bitter. Captain Martinez is now Sergeant Martinez again. The chevrons on her sleeve feel like scars, marking where ambition once lived. The colleagues who celebrated her European assignment now study their lunch trays with sudden fascination. The officers' club that welcomed her with handshakes now treats her like a ghost haunting someone else's funeral. James made his choice 3 days ago. The divorce papers arrived via overnight mail, along with a mountain of debt that carries both their signatures but only her forwarding address. $26,000 in debt, a destroyed career, a marriage that evaporated like steam from a coffee cup. The knock on Antonia's door comes at 2,000, 100 hours on a Tuesday night in March. Angela stands in the hallway, still wearing her uniform but looking smaller somehow, like someone who's discovered that pride takes up more space than they realized. "Permission to speak with you, ma'am?" Antonia opens the door wider, gesturing toward the sitting area where she's been reading Marcus's old tactical manuals. 2 glasses of bourbon sit on the coffee table. She knew this conversation was coming. "Sit down, Angela." Angela perches on the edge of the couch like a bird ready to take flight. Her hands shake slightly as she accepts the offered drink. "I don't know where else to go," Angela whispers. "Everyone I trusted, everyone who said they believed in me, they're all gone." Antonia settles into her chair, studying Angela's face with the patience of a sniper, waiting for the perfect shot. "And what did you expect would happen?" "I thought you might help me. Put in a good word. Maybe transfer me somewhere I can start over." The bourbon burns going down, but not as much as the truth. "Every choice has consequences, Angela. You chose to steal my work. You chose to trust a man who saw you as a stepping stone." Angela's voice cracks like ice under pressure. "I know what I did was wrong, but I was desperate. The opportunity in Europe, James's pressure, the deadlines. So you broke me instead." The words hang in the air between them like smoke from battlefield fires. Angela's tears come without warning, streaming down her cheeks in silence. "I have an assignment for you," Antonia says, her voice carrying 30 years of command authority. "Night shift training detail, 2,200 to 0600 hours, 7 days a week. You'll be working with our problem recruits." Angela looks up, confusion replacing desperation. "Night shift? Training recruits? Ma'am, that's work for junior NCOs. You're a sergeant with a disciplinary record who betrayed her commanding officer." Antonia's tone could freeze water in July. "Right now, you're lucky to have any assignment at all." The night shift training facility sits at the edge of Fort Bragg like an afterthought. Harsh fluorescent lights illuminate a small gymnasium where 12 women run through basic combat drills at midnight. These aren't your typical recruits. Private Sarah Chen joined the army to escape an abusive marriage that left scars on her arms and deeper wounds in her soul. She flinches every time someone raises their voice. Specialist Maria Santos fled Honduras with her daughter after gang threats. She sends half her military pay home to keep her child in a safe house. Corporal Jessica Williams came back from Afghanistan with PTSD that makes her jump at car backfires and stay awake for 3 days straight. Angela's first week is disaster wrapped in frustration. She barks orders like she's commanding seasoned soldiers, expecting instant obedience from women who've learned to distrust authority. Move faster. Think harder. Follow instructions the first time. But these women don't respond to commands like European-bound officers seeking promotions. They respond to understanding, to patience, to someone who sees their struggles. Private Chen breaks down during combat training, curling into a ball when Angela raises her voice about rifle handling. "Don't hit me," she whispers. "Please don't hit me." That's when Angela realizes she's become someone she doesn't recognize. Week 3 brings a different approach. Instead of shouting, Angela listens. Instead of demanding perfection, she shares stories about her own failures. "I grew up in East LA," she tells them during a midnight break. "My mother was addicted to drugs. My father was in prison. I thought the army would fix everything broken inside me." The women listen with the attention of soldiers hearing battle plans. But the army doesn't fix you. It gives you tools to fix yourself, if you're strong enough to use them. Maria Santos nods, understanding flickering in her dark eyes. "My daughter asks why I left her to play soldier. I tell her Mama is becoming someone worthy of being her hero." Night after night, Angela discovers strength she never knew existed. Not in herself, but in these women who fight battles most people never see. Sarah Chen learns to trust again, one training exercise at a time. Jessica Williams finds peace in midnight drills, away from daylight memories that haunt her dreams. And slowly, Angela begins to understand what leadership really means. Month 6 brings the breaking point. During hand-to-hand combat training, Private Chen successfully completes a defensive sequence that would have been impossible when she first arrived. "I did it," Sarah whispers, tears streaming down her face. "I defended myself." Angela pulls her into a fierce hug, feeling something crack open in her chest. All the stolen glory, all the fast promotions, all the European dreams. None of it meant as much as this moment. Later that night, after the recruits have returned to their barracks, Angela sits alone in the empty gymnasium. The weight of her choices presses down like tactical gear that doesn't fit properly. Antonia finds her there at 0400 hours, staring at her hands like they belong to someone else. "Mom," Angela whispers, the word carrying 6 months of regret and hard-earned wisdom. "I'm so sorry. For everything." But this time, the word doesn't sound like affection. It sounds like repentance. Redemption doesn't announce itself with trumpets. It arrives quietly, in the space between midnight and dawn, when nobody's watching except the ghosts of your own making. Antonia Brooks observes from the shadows of the training facility, her presence as invisible as morning mist. For 8 months now, she's watched Angela transform from a broken officer seeking shortcuts into something resembling a real leader. The change started small. Angela stopped checking her phone during training sessions. She learned her recruits' names, instead of barking generic orders. She brought coffee for the women who pulled double shifts, remembering how each one took it. But tonight will be the real test. The night exercise is designed to break spirits and rebuild them stronger. 12 female soldiers, armed with paintball weapons and basic equipment, must infiltrate a mock enemy compound and extract a hostage without being detected. Angela briefs her team in the pre-dawn darkness, her voice steady and confident. "Remember, this isn't about individual heroics. We succeed together or we fail together." Private Sarah Chen nods, her combat vest adjusted properly for the first time since arriving at Fort Bragg. Specialist Maria Santos checks her weapon with the practiced efficiency of someone who's learned to trust her training. These women have grown under Angela's guidance. They move with purpose now, their earlier fears transformed into focused determination. The exercise begins at 0200 hours. Everything goes wrong within the first 15 minutes. Corporal Williams, still battling PTSD flashbacks, freezes when paintball rounds start flying. She drops behind cover and refuses to move, her breathing shallow and rapid. Private Chen trips over concealed wire, triggering an alarm that alerts every opposing force in the area. The stealth approach becomes a running firefight across 200 yards of open ground. Specialist Santos takes a direct hit while trying to cover their retreat, her equipment scattered across the muddy training field. The exercise ends in complete failure. No hostage extracted. Half the team eliminated. Mission parameters not even remotely achieved. Colonel Harrison appears at the debriefing tent, his expression grim as storm clouds. The official observers carry clipboards thick with failure marks and disciplinary recommendations. Sergeant Martinez, Harrison's voice carries the weight of career-ending disappointment. This was a catastrophic failure of leadership. Your team was unprepared, your tactics were flawed, and your execution was amateur at best. Angela stands at attention, her uniform muddy but her posture straight as a rifle barrel. "Yes, sir. I'm recommending formal disciplinary action for inadequate training methods and failure to properly prepare your soldiers for combat scenarios." The words hang in the air like incoming artillery. Angela's career, already damaged by her earlier betrayal, teeters on the edge of complete destruction. Then something unexpected happens. "Colonel, permission to speak freely," Angela says, her voice clear as mountain air. "Granted." Angela takes a breath that seems to carry 8 months of hard-learned wisdom. "The failure tonight was mine alone, sir. These women have made incredible progress under difficult circumstances. Private Chen has overcome trauma that would break most soldiers. Specialist Santos balances military duty with supporting a child in another country. Corporal Williams fights battles most of us can't even imagine. She pauses, meeting Harrison's stern gaze without flinching. They didn't fail tonight because they lack courage or commitment. They failed because I didn't give them the leadership they deserved. The blame belongs to me, and I accept full responsibility for tonight's outcome. Colonel Harrison studies her face, looking for signs of deflection or excuse-making. He finds none. You understand that accepting full responsibility means accepting full consequences? Yes, sir. I understand completely. From the shadows outside the tent, Antonia feels something shift in her chest. The same feeling she had 25 years ago when Marcus proposed marriage. The recognition of someone worth believing in. This is the Angela she always hoped existed. Not the desperate, ambitious officer who stole classified research. Not the broken woman who came begging for help 8 months ago. This is a leader. The disciplinary hearing is scheduled for the following week, but it never happens. Angela's personnel file undergoes a quiet transformation. Negative performance reviews disappear. Disciplinary recommendations are withdrawn. Her security clearance, mysteriously suspended during the investigation, is fully reinstated without explanation. She never knows about the phone calls, the conversations between Antonia and Pentagon officials who still remember Marcus Brooks, and the debts they owe his widow. General Patricia Hawkins closes Angela's disciplinary file with a stamp that reads, "No further action required." Admiral Robert Chen removes her name from the European Command blacklist, noting exemplary rehabilitation and leadership development. Former CIA operative Sarah Mitchell ensures that Angela's financial troubles disappear, her debts absorbed by a government assistance program that officially doesn't exist. Angela continues her night shift duties, unaware that powerful forces have moved to protect her future. But Antonia knows. And late at night, when the base grows quiet and memories become her only company, she finds herself thinking about the daughter she never had. Marcus died before they could start a family. The army became her child, her soldiers became her legacy. But Angela was different. Angela was personal. The betrayal had cut so deep because the love had been so real. Now, watching Angela mentor broken women with patience and genuine care, Antonia sees something that makes her heart ache with possibility. A second chance. A real chance. But first, there's one more conversation that needs to happen. The military lawyer's office occupies the 3rd floor of the Judge Advocate General building, its windows overlooking the parade grounds where young soldiers drill in perfect formation. Major Rebecca Torres has handled sensitive cases for 15 years, but she's never received a call quite like this one. Major Torres, this is General Antonia Brooks. I need to schedule a meeting regarding a classified matter that requires immediate attention. Of course, General. What type of case are we discussing? Antonia's voice carries the weight of 8 months of careful planning and 30 years of military justice. Intellectual property theft, falsified military records, and the restoration of proper credit for classified research development. She pauses, watching young soldiers through the window learn the fundamentals of honor and duty. It's time the truth comes out. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they turn inevitably toward the light. Truth has weight. It sits heavy in the Judge Advocate General's hearing room like lead in your pocket, impossible to ignore once you acknowledge its presence. Major Rebecca Torres arranges evidence files across the conference table, with the precision of someone who understands that justice lives in the details. Digital timestamps, original research notes, security camera footage create a mosaic of deception that took nearly 2 years to assemble. At 1,400 hours, the review board files in 3 colonels, 2 generals, and the base commander. Their faces carry the stern neutrality of career officers who've seen every kind of military scandal imaginable. But they haven't seen this. Angela enters in full dress uniform, her ribbons catching afternoon light streaming through tall windows. She moves with measured steps of someone walking toward their own execution. Her eyes find Antonia immediately. The older woman sits at the council table, her posture straight as a flagpole, her expression unreadable as classified documents. This hearing will examine allegations of intellectual property theft and falsification of military records, announces General Patricia Morrison, the review board chair. Major Torres, present your evidence. The next hour unfolds like a tactical operation executed with surgical precision. Torres displays the original Project Athena research files, each page bearing Antonia's digital signature and creation timestamps dating back 3 years. The innovative psychological warfare protocols, combat readiness assessments, training methodologies that could revolutionize female soldier preparation. All of it documented, verified, and indisputably authored by Major General Antonia Brooks. Security footage from the night Angela photographed classified files plays on the main screen. The timestamp reads 0247 hours, February 15th. Angela's face is clearly visible as she positions documents under her phone's camera flash. 10 minutes that destroyed 3 decades of trust. The evidence is overwhelming, Torres continues, her voice carrying military law's weight. Sergeant Martinez unlawfully obtained classified research, falsely claimed authorship, and used this deception to secure promotion and European transfer. The board members examined documentation with the thoroughness of bomb disposal technicians, every signature verified, every timestamp confirmed, every witness statement corroborated. Angela sits motionless throughout the presentation, her hands folded like someone praying for forgiveness she doesn't deserve. When Torres finishes, General Morrison turns to Antonia. General Brooks, this evidence clearly demonstrates theft of your intellectual property. What punishment do you recommend for Sergeant Martinez? The room falls silent except for distant sound of recruits drilling in the courtyard below. Antonia rises slowly, her movement commanding every person's attention. At 73, she still carries herself like someone who could lead troops through hell and bring them home alive. General Morrison, members of the board, she begins, her voice carrying 30 years of command authority. For the past 10 months, I have watched Sergeant Martinez serve in the most demanding assignment I could devise. Training troubled female recruits during night shifts, working with women who face trauma, addiction, and despair. She pauses, her steel-gray eyes finding Angela's face. I have seen her transform from someone who sought shortcuts and stolen glory into a leader who takes responsibility for her soldiers' failures and celebrates their victories. The board members exchange uncertain glances. The Project Athena research was mine, Antonia continues, her voice growing stronger. Every innovation, every breakthrough, every line of code. But watching Sergeant Martinez work with damaged soldiers who needed second chances, I realized something more important than credit or recognition. She takes a step toward Angela, who hasn't raised her eyes from her folded hands. The army doesn't need perfect soldiers. It needs soldiers who can grow from their mistakes. Sergeant Martinez has done that. She has paid for her betrayal, not with punishment, but with service. Not with shame, but with genuine leadership. General Morrison leans forward. General Brooks, are you saying you don't want disciplinary action taken? I'm saying that discipline has already been served. Through education, through accountability, through learning to live with the consequences of your choices. Antonia turns to face the board directly. I recommend that Sergeant Martinez be allowed to continue her service with one condition. The Project Athena research will be expanded into a comprehensive support program for female soldiers facing personal challenges. She will lead this program, not as punishment, but as purpose. The declaration hits the room like artillery fire. Let her keep serving, Antonia says, her voice carrying 4 decades of uniform authority, not forgiven reborn. For 30 seconds, the only sound is the wall clock marking time that will never return. General Morrison confers quietly with other board members before rendering their decision. In light of General Brooks' testimony and recommendation, this board accepts the proposed resolution. Sergeant Martinez will receive an official reprimand, retain her current rank, and assume leadership of the expanded Project Athena support program. The gavel falls with finality. Angela collapses as if shot. She slides from her chair to her knees, tears streaming down her face like rain on parade grounds. "Mom," she whispers, the word breaking like her voice. "I was so wrong. About everything. About what mattered. About who I wanted to be. About what you tried to teach me." Her shoulders shake with 9 months of accumulated guilt and shame. "I stole from you. I betrayed you. I threw away the most precious thing anyone ever gave me, your trust, your love, your belief in who I could become." Antonia approaches slowly, her footsteps measured as a funeral march. She stops directly in front of Angela's kneeling form. For a moment, the room holds its breath. Then Antonia places one hand on Angela's shoulder, her touch gentle but firm. "Stand up, daughter," she says, her voice carrying all the authority of a mother and a general combined. "The army doesn't need the guilty. It needs the grown." Angela rises on unsteady legs, her face streaked with tears, but her posture straightening with newfound purpose. Outside the hearing room windows, young soldiers continue their training, learning that honor isn't about never falling down. It's about how you stand back up. 18 months later, Fort Bragg looks the same from the outside. Same red brick buildings, same parade grounds where morning reveille echoes across perfectly manicured lawns, same American flag snapping in the North Carolina wind like a promise that never breaks. But something fundamental has changed in the training facility that sits at the base's eastern edge. The Phoenix program occupies what used to be called the Night Shift Rehabilitation Center. Now it's something entirely different, something revolutionary. Major General Antonia Brooks walks through the facility's main corridor, her dress uniform crisp as autumn air. At 74, she moves with the same confident stride that once commanded respect from Pentagon generals and field commanders alike. But today, she's here as an observer, a proud witness to what second chances can accomplish when guided by wisdom instead of vengeance. The program has grown beyond anything she initially envisioned. What started as Project Athena's stolen research has become something more powerful than any classified document could contain. 47 female soldiers currently participate in the Phoenix program. Women who faced addiction, domestic violence, PTSD, financial ruin, and career-ending mistakes. Each one carrying burdens that would crush lesser spirits. Each one learning to rise from their own ashes. Captain Angela Martinez stands before a classroom of 12 women, her voice steady and confident as she explains advanced tactical psychology. The same voice that once pleaded desperately for help now carries the authority of someone who's earned her leadership through service, not theft. "The enemy's greatest weapon isn't bullets or bombs," Angela tells her students. "It's making you believe you're not strong enough to survive what they throw at you." But survival isn't about avoiding damage. It's about learning to function while damaged, and eventually healing stronger than you were before. In the front row, Sergeant Lisa Chen nods with understanding. The same woman who once flinched at raised voices now trains other soldiers in hand-to-hand combat. Her scars have become sources of strength instead of shame. Specialist Maria Santos has brought her daughter to live on base, part of a family support initiative that helps military parents balance service with parenthood. Her little girl attends the base daycare, while Maria leads wilderness survival courses for soldiers who've lost their way. Corporal Jessica Williams runs the program's counseling division, using her own battle with PTSD to help others navigate the invisible wounds that never show up in medical reports. These women have become more than survivors. They've become guides for others walking similar dark paths. Angela's transformation runs deeper than professional success. She lives in base housing now, having paid off the debts her ex-husband left behind through careful budgeting and weekend consulting work. The European assignment she once coveted seems like someone else's dream from another lifetime. Every evening, after training sessions end, she visits the base cemetery where Marcus Brooks rests beneath white marble and military precision. She leaves fresh flowers and tells him about the day's progress, about the soldiers who found their strength, about the woman who taught her that true power comes from building others up instead of climbing over them. Antonia watches these conversations from a distance, her heart carrying emotions she's still learning to name. Tonight marks the program's first official graduation ceremony. 16 women who entered Phoenix program as broken soldiers will receive certificates of completion and new assignments across the Army's global operations. The base auditorium fills with families, commanding officers, and fellow soldiers who've come to witness something unprecedented. A military program that measures success not in missions completed or enemies defeated, but in lives rebuilt and spirits restored. Angela takes the podium as Deputy Program Commander, her uniform bearing ribbons that represent genuine achievement rather than stolen glory. 18 months ago, I stood in a very different place, she begins, her voice carrying across the silent auditorium. Broken by my own choices, drowning in consequences I'd brought upon myself, believing that my failures defined who I would always be. She pauses, her eyes finding Antonia in the back row. But I learned something from a woman who showed me that the greatest acts of leadership aren't about commanding others to follow you. They're about teaching others to find the strength to lead themselves. The graduates stand as their names are called. Each woman represents a different kind of victory. Sarah Chen, now certified in crisis counseling. Maria Santos, accepted for officer candidate school. Jessica Williams, selected for the Warrior Transition Unit, where she'll help wounded veterans rebuild their lives. When the ceremony ends and families disperse into the North Carolina evening, Antonia remains seated in the empty auditorium. The silence feels peaceful rather than lonely. Angela approaches slowly, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. "Permission to sit, ma'am?" Antonia gestures to the empty chair beside her. "Granted." They sit together in comfortable quiet, watching maintenance crews clean up the celebration's aftermath. Two women who've learned that forgiveness isn't a moment of decision, but a daily choice to build something better from broken pieces. "Do you ever regret it?" Angela asks quietly. "Choosing education over punishment?" Antonia considers the question with the thoroughness of someone who's lived long enough to understand complexity. "Revenge would have destroyed you and left me empty," she says finally. "But watching you become the leader you were always capable of being, that fills spaces in my heart I didn't know were hollow." Angela's voice breaks slightly when she speaks. "Thank you for seeing who I could become, instead of just who I was. Thank you for becoming her." Outside, the evening retreat ceremony begins. The haunting notes of a military bugle drift through the auditorium windows as the flag is lowered with precise honor guard movements. Antonia rises to leave, but Angela's voice stops her. "Mom?" The word carries none of the desperation or manipulation it once held. Now it sounds like gratitude wrapped in genuine love. "Will you be at next month's ceremony?" Antonia Brooks, retired Major General, mother figure, and architect of second chances, smiles with the satisfaction of someone who's discovered that the sweetest victories aren't won on battlefields. "Wouldn't miss it, daughter. Wouldn't miss it for the world." The sound of military drums echoes across Fort Bragg as two women walk into the North Carolina twilight, their relationship reborn through the most powerful force in any arsenal: forgiveness.